Good evening and happy Thanksgiving to all our sports fans out there. Welcome to another edition of the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves, just outside Louisville, Kentucky, and back home in Maryland, my good friend and esteemed colleague, John Webster. John, how you doing? And happy Thanksgiving and a belated happy birthday to you.
That's a lot, Gary. Thank you very much. Had a great birthday, a lot of fun. I did my number one thing to always enjoy doing, which is eat. So that was a beautiful thing. And thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving to you and to John Pitt. Happy Thanksgiving to all of our viewers who watch us each week. Have a happy and safe one. And again, another good week of sports. NCAA basketball is really cranking it up now. I can't wait to get into it with you, Gary. And I would be remiss if we didn't say hello to our producer, Mr. John Pitt.
Happy Thanksgiving, John. We are thankful for you, by the way, just to let you know.
Each and every day.
The feeling is mutual. Hey, this week is about family, friends, football, and food. No?
Oh, man. You too could be a broadcaster or play one on the internet. That's pretty good.
That's excellent, man.
That's a lot of alliteration there. As a writer, I like that. Yep, but but John Pitt, you really make a good point. I mean, I could think of a whole lot of really good weekends or weeks in sports, but it's hard to top Thanksgiving because of all the things that you mentioned, but especially with the football part, because on the one hand, in the NFL, you've got 3 games on Thanksgiving Day, including your Dallas Cowboys. You've got rivalry week in college football. You know, one of those games is going on here in Kentucky between the Wildcats and Louisville. Now, that might not matter, to a lot of fans unless it's basketball, but, there is a little bit of cachet to that game this year. But in any event, rivalry week in college football is probably one of the best weeks because that's when you see even probably the worst teams rise up and try to, salvage their seasons against their arch rivals in state. Maybe with the exception of Vanderbilt, which is, they're just at a different level right now. But John, before we get into that, let's talk about the NFL part, because we had a lot of interesting losses on Sunday that really lead into some storylines tomorrow night, one of which involves John Pitt's Dallas Cowboys.
Well, the Cowboys had a rough go of it Sunday, Gary. Kansas City got them 19-9. Now they're in a position where they got a game tomorrow, and they need to win it. They have to win it. They have to beat the Raiders. They have to keep pace of what they're doing in the NFC East. They're leading it, but also they need to keep pace with trying to have that home field advantage for the NFC playoffs. The game that they had Sunday, they looked totally out of sync. The running game wasn't there. The passing game, but they just did not look like they really were in sync at all on Sunday. So we'll see how they look tomorrow.
Yeah, I'd agree. Games like that beg the question, did Kansas City win it or did Dallas lose it? And I really think Dallas just lost that game. I can't really explain sometimes in football when teams, and a lot of teams suffered from this malady on Sunday that, they just have a bad game. They're just not in sync. They're just flat. Nothing seems to work. Green Bay, my Green Bay Packers lost Sunday as well. They weren't necessarily flat, but, that was one of those games. That was a very, very winnable game, but yet they lost it.
Mm-hmm. Well, like you said, Green Bay had a rough one. They lost. Tampa Bay seemed to have snapped out of their 2-game losing streak, and they were able to beat the Giants Monday night. So we'll see. Buffalo took a hard loss to the Colts. They looked very pedestrian, shall we say. They looked very pedestrian.
Yeah. That's been my favorite word to use lately. Yeah, it's if you're looking for a team to be head and shoulders above the rest of the field, you weren't going to get it Sunday. You might not get it for another 2 weeks because the thing with Thanksgiving week, when you've got 6 teams that are playing on short rest, and one of those teams is the Detroit Lions. But again, that's a whole other story there. Of course, that's a game where you might see the Lions actually pull out a victory. Just because it's their game, it's their stage, and for all the questions about whether they should even be on Thanksgiving, they are a traditional game, and who knows what you might see from them tomorrow. I mean, I'm not leaving anything off the table, when it comes to Thanksgiving games.
Tomorrow, Thanksgiving may be the best opportunity the Detroit Lions have for the rest of the season to get a win. They're playing the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears are totally in a downward spiral. I don't know if you had a chance to see the game Sunday when they played Baltimore.
Yeah.
That's unreal.
Yeah, we get all of Baltimore's games here in Louisville, the last couple of years. And yeah, that was a bizarre one as well. Just as I want to believe that the Bears might have a future with Justin Fields, he goes and gets hurt, and they just reverted back to being the Bears. And I'm not trying to dump on Justin Fields at all with this. It's just that sometimes teams are just snake bit. I mean, no matter how well they draft, no matter what kind of talent they put together, they just can't do it sometimes. It's just a long process.
And they are struggling, Gary. They had the game against Baltimore won.
Mm-hmm.
I still look back at that play. Was it 3rd and 15? Tyler Huntley's rolling out, getting ready to get sacked. He lost a 30-yard pass down the field to Sammy Watkins and his broken coverage downfield.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah. And see, fans in Chicago will say that's the Bears we know. I mean, it's like if it's going to happen to anybody, it's going to happen to the Chicago Bears. I used to say that about the Washington football team, just because they would just find ways to blow stuff. But I'm not quite a believer yet, but there's actually a bright spot with that team. I think they can actually win Sunday. Who thought they would beat Tampa Bay, and who thought they would go to Carolina with Cam Newton, who we also didn't know was coming back, and win a game like that. It's little by little, I'm becoming a Heineke believer, but
I like Heineke. Rivera has always been a coach that gets them going in the second half of the season when they're, he finds a way when the back's against the wall to get something going. They're 3-6 right now. They have Seattle on.
Well, it's 4-6 now, but
4-6. They're 4-6 now. They got Seattle Monday night. Seattle's coming there with a 3-game losing streak, I think. So
yeah,
anything's possible. They're playing better, Gary. I've liked Heineke the whole season, but we'll just see what happens with him. I'm still not sure, but I'll say this: the one thing that I am sure of, I'm a New England Patriots fan, and the thing that scares me, everybody's saying that they're here and they're getting ready to go back to the playoffs and the Super Bowl. I wish they would still be ignoring the Patriots and not saying a doggone thing about them, because the next 4 games for the Patriots are Tennessee, Buffalo, the Colts, and Buffalo. That's
all of which are vulnerable teams, John. It's like, Tennessee loses. Oh gosh, who did they lose to?
They lost to the Texans.
Yeah. They look vulnerable. I mean, that's just how weird Sunday was. Again, well, maybe I shouldn't say vulnerable, but I mean, they had their egg. They laid an egg on Sunday, like a lot of these so-called power teams. And I don't know if it's gonna
watch. They'll find their beat this Sunday against New England. They will find their beat, which is unfortunate. I want New England to do their thing, but those are 4 hard games, Gary. 4 hard games.
Yeah, the Buffalo game I think is winnable for them because Buffalo looks kind of suspect all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee. I think that's Tennessee's game to lose, but you just don't know right now because now with a 17 game schedule, you're in that lull period for a lot of teams. What I saw Sunday were a lot of teams that seem to be in holiday Thanksgiving mode and just, they just didn't look like themselves. They just didn't look focused.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree.
Well, John, going down a notch, as I talked about at the outset, it's a rivalry week in college football. We've got a number of great matchups. And the one I think is the most intriguing is between number 2, Ohio State, and number 5, or is it maybe number 6, Michigan.
Yeah, I think they're 5 and Notre Dame 6.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm looking at the college football playoff rankings right now, and that's what's throwing me off. But again, that's a game that has playoff implications, big time for both schools. And after watching Ohio State just obliterate Michigan State before halftime, as confident as I feel in my Buckeyes, I'm not confident in a game like this, even though they've owned Michigan, pretty much for about the last decade. The reason why is I think they might have emptied their tank against Michigan State. And, the odds always just seem to prove that when teams, unless you're Alabama or right now Georgia, but, teams that go out there and put it on a team that they expect to contend with them, in a really big game, they don't have it the next game. And for all the talk about the rivalry and, of course, my disdain for that team up north, I feel like Michigan is in a prime position to really shake up the playoff rankings and open the door for a team from South Bend, Indiana. What do you think?
Nice segue, Gary. Very nice segue.
I'm going to give your team some dap when it's due.
I think, and I call Harbaugh Coach Khaki. If Coach Khaki does not get Ohio State this year, I don't think he ever will. This is the best opportunity. Everything's on the line. It reminds me of the old days, Gary. They're playing at 12 o'clock on Saturday. You remember back when we were kids, Michigan, Ohio State, last game of the year, 12 o'clock on a Saturday. It's going to decide who wins the Big Ten. Well, it's going to decide who wins the Big Ten East coming up this Saturday, 12 o'clock. And I'm looking forward to it. I think Michigan can do it. I think they knock them off. That gives Ohio State 2 losses, drops them out of contention as far as I'm concerned, puts them right out of there. The next thing that I think is going to happen, either Alabama loses to Auburn or Alabama loses to Georgia, one or the other. I think once one of those happens, Alabama has 2 losses. Roll them out of there. Now you got 2 spots left. Cincinnati's in, Georgia's in. You need 2 more teams. Coach Khaki and the team from South Bend. And that's your Final 4. Now, I'll tell you what, there are a lot of naysayers about Notre Dame even getting into the playoff. A lot of naysayers.
I'm not one of them. I'm going on a record. I'm not one of them.
Well, I understand it, and it frustrates me every time they get in, they get blown out. So there are a lot of people. I heard one today, Keyshawn Johnson, on his show this morning, and he said he would take a 3-loss Alabama team into the college football playoff before he would take a 1-loss Notre Dame. And you know how much I'm a big Notre Dame fan. I see where he's coming from. It scares the bejeebers out of me because they get if Notre Dame comes in as the 4 seed, they get Georgia. That's not pretty. That's not pretty. If they get 3 seed and they have to go against maybe Cincinnati again, I like the chances to go against Cincinnati as opposed to going against Georgia. Georgia is a wrecking crew that I know if I'm Notre Dame, I don't want to see them until maybe if I get past Cincinnati, I can see them in the championship. But bigger than that, Gary, if Notre Dame does not take care of business on Saturday and go to Stanford and beat Stanford at the Farm, Forget all this other stuff. It's not going to happen. Notre Dame to take care of business first. They have to beat Stanford, and that's not an easy game. Even though Stanford's having a rough season, when Notre Dame goes to Stanford the Saturday after Thanksgiving, it is always a rough game for them. Rough, and lose this game. So we'll see what happens. We will see.
You know, I mean, I like, you know, being in SEC country and seeing Alabama and Auburn, you know, I mean, the power teams and you know, and Georgia included. I would think on the one hand, I would be leaning toward Alabama to be in that playoff, but if they lose, no. If they do include them in the playoff with 2 losses. Now, for the record, I don't think they're going to lose to Auburn. Auburn has kind of fallen off the pace a little bit. And I know it's a rivalry game, and I know that brings a certain something, you know, out of them. The pick six is the one that always stands out to me. And that might be one of the greatest games I think I've ever seen. But this idea about taking a 3-loss or a 2-loss Alabama team over a 1-loss Notre Dame team, no. And to your point about worrying about whether they get obliterated by Georgia, here's the thing. They just get in the playoff, you know, and anything can happen. I understand your concern. It's justified against a team like Georgia, but you just never know. I mean, again, I would give them a better chance against Georgia than, say, if it was Alabama maybe last year or something like that. But, you know, again, back to my SEC bias, it's just going to be hard to knock off a team like Georgia. I think for Notre Dame, there's a golden opportunity there, no pun intended, and I think they get it.
A golden opportunity for the Golden Domers.
I couldn't.
You like that? You like that alliteration?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. All right, let's move on to college basketball. Speaking of another big week, wow, where to start? Well, I just got finished watching UConn and Auburn. UConn beat Auburn in double overtime, which was a great game. I mean, you know, for an early season game, that one was pretty compelling. The one that I thought was going to be compelling, and I didn't see it, but Gonzaga and UCLA, and Gonzaga handled their business last night. What did you think about that, since you are a UCLA fan?
Well,
or follower, admirer? Well,
really, the 20-point loss, and I know this sounds bad, Gary, the 20-point loss is really closer than what the game was. I mean, Gonzaga totally controlled the game from start to finish. The kid Clark is a good guard. They got the kid that brought in Holmgren, was it Chat Holmgren, the 7-footer. Now you gotta get some meat on his bones. See, if you put some rocks in his pocket, maybe he'll weigh 100 pounds. But he's a really, really good ball player. You know, he's really good. Handles the ball well, good foot movement, old school fundamental guy, knows what to do. Now, not totally old school because he's 7 feet and he's out there on the perimeter trying to do his thing. And he does it well. Basketball has changed. But he's a really good ball player. Gonzaga is a team that's going to have to be reckoned with. They are tough. I think last night was a bump in the road for UCLA. They are not as bad as it seemed last night.
I don't think so. And we're only 2 weeks into the season.
Yeah, it's early. It's still early, and they just didn't have it last night, Gary. UCLA just did not have it at all. It was Gonzaga from start to finish, and everything Gonzaga tried, it worked to perfection. You know, The defense was suffocating. The ball movements were unbelievable. It was great. Now, Gonzaga has another game, I think either Friday or Saturday
against Duke. Yeah.
Now that's going to be a showtell game because Holmgren is one of the blue chippers coming out playing this year. Coach K has Bolero. I think I said his name correctly. That's the 16 kid for Duke. So this is going to be a really good matchup. And Coach K and Duke are really on point. Everybody keeps talking about Bolero and how good he is. And yes, he is an excellent ball player. But quiet is kept, Gary. Trevor Keels. Remember that name, Trevor Keels.
I agree. I've seen him.
And he's built like a brick, house. I mean, he's huge. He's like a man playing with boys. And the other night, which game was that? That was last week. They had a game. I think it was the Kentucky game. He was the difference in the second half in the Kentucky game. He's the reason why they beat Kentucky. He is just, he's a really good ball player. Had a chance to see him a little bit in this area when he was in high school. He's just an unbelievable talent. He's tough.
Yeah. Now, as for Gonzaga, here's the thing again. I didn't see the game last night. I just, was reading some recaps about it. But for all of those people that want to try to throw dirt on Gonzaga and say, oh, they don't play anybody. They play in an easy conference. They've got two games this week. They may not matter in terms of the grand scheme of things, but they are resume building games, and they've already won one of them. If they beat Duke, I don't want to hear anything from the Gonzaga haters. Oh, they don't play anybody, because when it comes March and you're determining who's going to be the number one seed, and you look at those two, look at that schedule, and if they win both of those games, I don't want to hear anything about that schedule. Gonzaga, last year I thought was probably their year to win it, that if they didn't win it last year, they may never do it. I was wrong. They ran up against a Baylor team that was just experienced, athletic, and basically just beat them the same way that they beat UCLA in that semifinal, that epic semifinal. But they've come back stronger. I think that, based on what I've seen a little bit, little bits and pieces, at 1 a.m, they look every bit as strong as last year's team, which I really didn't expect. And I think, come March, we might be crowning them as champion. Well, April. To be specific.
I think a key thing with them, they kept the kid Drew Timme, and he's a kind of ball player. He gets his hands dirty, and I don't mean that in a bad way, like he's a dirty player or he's trying to hurt.
No. I mean, he's the guy that you'd like to have, kind of messing it up inside, being disruptive.
Yeah, and I think that was a key thing with him coming back and not going to the NBA draft. I think that was a key. They lost Jalen Suggs, but the kid Clark they have, he's playing really well right now. And the thing I've always said about Gonzaga and Mark Few, their Coach Few, they will play anybody, Gary. You know that yourself. They'll play anybody. And people have been hard on because it is Gonzaga. But hey, man, let me tell you this. Blue chippers want to go to Gonzaga now. That kid homegrown was a parade All-America. They probably don't even say parade All-America. I'm showing my age now. But he was one of the top prospects in the country, and he chose Gonzaga. That hasn't always been the case. Kids want to go.
What does that remind you of, though? I mean, what school in the Washington area does that remind you of? It's right on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of the name. I think it begins with a G, though, right?
G-Town Hoyas?
Yeah, but I mean, it's almost the same way. Almost the same way he's built that program.
Yeah.
Private school that nobody had heard of.
Yeah, and he's done a great job. Been over there over 20 years, I think. Been there 20 years. And he has a wonderful program. He doesn't have a wonderful team. He has a wonderful program. They are in it each and every year. They played in the final one year against Carolina, couldn't get it done. Another year they played last year against Baylor, couldn't get it done. There are a lot of people that wish they could say they had the seasons that Gonzaga has had. Gonzaga is one of the best teams and one of the best programs in the country. And they definitely have one of the best coaches in Coach Few.
Yeah, indeed. And I'll tell you what, as a basketball player, there are worse places to play, even in the wintertime, than the Great Northwest. Yep. So, okay, now the subject we've all been waiting for. This is the biggest week for food, Thanksgiving dinner. What you got? First of all, what you got planned? What kind of menu you got planned, John? And what's your favorite? That's what we're going to talk about here.
Okay, well, Gary, you've known me a long time. And Pitt, you've known me about 10 or 11 years now. I think it's easy to say what food I don't like as opposed to saying what foods I like. But it's Thanksgiving. You know, my wife, Kim, has my turkey sitting in the sink, soaking it right now. And I'm going to fry that bad boy tomorrow morning. I love fried turkey. Love fried turkey. I love gravy on my. I put gravy on everything. I put it on sweet potatoes. I put it on my greens. I put it on my string beans. I put it on my macaroni and cheese. I put gravy on everything except for the fried turkey. It is a beautiful thing, Gary. John, I'm telling you, it is beautiful. Then I get a nice big tall glass of ice water, and I'm going for it. And I get about 4 or 5 rolls. And I go sit down by myself and I watch a little sports and I'm where I need to be. Oh, let me give you the dessert. Let me give you the dessert. So we started the dessert a little bit today because Kim has gotten us some strawberry cheesecake. No, just cheesecake. I like strawberries, but I really love cherries. So I'm putting cherries on top of my cheesecake. And then we're going to bake a cherry pie. And I'm selfish because I'm my only child. So we're going to bake the cherry pie because Kim doesn't like it. So I'm going to eat the cherry pie all myself. So, oh, man. Oh, this is going to be a beautiful thing. It's going to be beautiful. Yes, indeed. I have my own plate. I have my own big plate.
Platter.
Yes. We go over to Kim's sister's house and she has all this food out and it's beautiful, but she likes to use paper plates and plastic cups. And I just come with a bag and bring my own utensils, you know.
Yeah. Well, see, I've heard about that infamous platter. And that's why I say, this is your week, John. So yeah, do your thing. But but of all of those foods you mentioned, what is your absolute favorite? I mean, what really defines the Thanksgiving meal for you?
That fried turkey.
The fried turkey.
Okay. That fried turkey. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. And you know something, I'm going to give you some credit for this, that until I had your fried turkey, I'd never thought about what fried turkey tastes like.
Well, thank you, Gary.
Yeah. I mean, in all seriousness, that was something when I moved back from Florida, and we became acquainted, and you would do those turkey fries at church. I never knew how good fried turkey could be. I never even knew that was a thing, because frying a turkey. Now the drumstick is my favorite part, but after having your fried turkey and having some turkey breast, it's like I rethought turkey breast. So because of you, I look forward to that. But my absolute favorite part of it, whether you call it dressing or stuffing, that and gravy. I mean, just like I'm like you. I put gravy on just about everything.
That's the only way to do it.
Like almost everything except the turkey. That's it's kind of weird. My second favorite part of it. Green bean casserole that I have learned to make over the years, and kind of add my own little touch to it, because I mean I love green beans. Now, my mom and my dad, they used to make greens, just some wicked greens, and of course I miss them. That's one thing I wish I had really learned how to cook from one of them, but. Give me green bean casserole second, but dressing, stuffing with gravy first, and I am happy. And then I am out on the couch after that.
That's the only way to go, man. That is the only way to go. You're really making me hungry, Gary, to be honest with you. So I have to do something. I'm gonna have to do something.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a test run on some dressing after we get off the phone here. I ain't lying about that.
Yeah, we're going to have to do something, and then I got to run to the store when we get off of here, because I have to go get my injector kit, because Kim shoots my turkey up like it has some type of substance abuse problem. So she shoots it up really, really, really good. I think this year we're going to use the Creole or some brown or some Creole and butter or something that's going to be shot up in there. She usually likes to use the jerk, but we can't find the jerk. So I'll go get it, and she has 2 syringes and shoots it up on both sides.
Yeah. John Pitt, hey, it's time for you to chime in on this one, man, because I know we got your mouth watering talking about all this food.
Not really. Y'all are kind of fancy for me, man. So I tell you a quick story. So I think I was 7 or 8, and my aunt was cooking greens. And like you, my family's, they gets down with the greens, right? They're from North Carolina. Mm-hmm. So I look in a pot. I'm like, what's that? And it's like a hunk of meat. And she said, that's a ham hock. I was like, I want that. I don't want the greens. I want that. It's like, no. That's for seasoning the greens. You know. So, but anyway, after dinner, I waited patiently. I went back in the kitchen, and she let me have a piece of it, and I've been hooked ever since. The ham hock is my favorite food for Thanksgiving. You guys are depriving yourselves. Trust me.
Hey,
look, we ain't disagreeing with you. I forgot about how good ham hocks are.
Hey, let me tell you.
Ham hocks, like we used to say.
Ham hocks. Let me tell you this. When I was dating Kim, I would go over her house, and she would never let me eat dinner over there. So her mother would say, how come John can't eat over here, Kim? She would say, because you haven't seen him eat. He eats too much. We can't feed him. So I could never eat dinner over there when we were going together, when we were boyfriend and girlfriend. But her mother used to make these greens and everything and on Sundays, and she put fat back in them. And I couldn't have the greens, so I would get the fat back out the pot, and I would make fat back sandwiches. That's what I could eat, was a fat back. And I was just as happy, John, just to eat the fat back.
Mm. Oh, man.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, see, fatback, that was my parents' thing. They tried turkey, but then, man, like the next time they were like, nah, it's fatback. And I mean, turkey, seasoning with turkey. I forgot about the ham hocks. I mean, those,
man, that's good stuff right there. But now we have progressed life to now we season our food with smoked turkey wings.
Yeah.
We have progressed. Or in John Pitt's case, he'll have a smoked ham hock.
That's right.
And he will give thanks for that, as he should. But that's the great thing. In fact, with all these things we were talking about, nobody has mentioned macaroni and cheese, and which is a staple in any Black household, and for dinner. But I put it this way. The great thing about Thanksgiving, there's so much food there. I always go back and get the macaroni and cheese second, because I gotta have my staples first. I have got to have that drumstick. Got to have the mashed potatoes and gravy, stuffing / dressing and gravy. Emphasis on gravy.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you something. Macaroni and cheese. Kim's sister she's a great cook anyway, just like Kim is, but she can do some macaroni and cheese. John, I'll bring you some next week. Gary, I'll put some in an Amazon box and send it to you down.
Yeah. Wow. Well, in closing, again, I give thanks for this show. I give thanks, John, for you considering me for this show. And I definitely give thanks for John Pitt for making it pretty, keeping us in line and everything, and being the traffic cop that he is. But most of all, I am thankful for the viewers out there that support this fine show. Keep coming back. Tell all your friends. Put it on Facebook. Tell your family, because we love talking about the thing that we know well and that we love the best, and we want to share that with you.
Hey, Gary, I couldn't have said it any better, man. I'm thankful for you, thankful for John Pitt, thankful for my family that I have and everybody that's around me with my family. It's great. Love this show. Thankful for everything we do at the show. Thankful for the viewers, but thankful for everybody. I want everybody to have a safe and careful Thanksgiving. Enjoy yourself. Don't make a pig of yourself like I'm going to make of myself. Eat responsibly. Eat responsibly. And have a great time. And then we're going to come back here next week to see you and talk some more about sports. Take care. Have a great week and happy Thanksgiving to everyone.